Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just using the air on the gun. So if you pull the trigger halfway back, then you'll just get air. I'm using the air from the gun just to blow off any dust on the window that might be sat on there before I spray. So as you see, air first, and then if I pull the trigger all the way back, you get the paint flow. So what I'm going to be doing is starting on the edge, the bottom edge of the window, and what you'll find is these windows are very small. So I want to try and hit it at an angle. The fan comes out in that triangle position like that. So if you try and spray it like that, then you won't hit the edge as well. So by twisting the fan over just at a 45 degree, you'll get a way better coverage on that small edge. You'll find that if you don't do it this way, you could end up with it looking quite patchy, because 99% of the paint could be going over the window or under the window. So twist it over at 45 and then spray, and then come along and keep that consistent position all the way through. Okay, so the first pass, I'm going to aim the gun at this bottom edge, the first lip, which is very small on the UPVC window, so you want to make sure your gun is over at that 45 degrees to get more coverage. Always start on and off the surface. You don't want to be pulling the trigger directly on the window, and also letting go of the trigger each end. So triggering on and off both sides. So once you come past that point, then we're going to tilt the gun straight at the 90-degree angle, and then we're going to pass over the first slant of the window. Once we get past that point, we're then going to straighten the gun up and go through the middle section of the window. Once that has got a good coverage on, and I've gone past the end of the window there, I'm going to then sort of lean the gun towards myself and then spray the inside edge. But the inside edge is quite tucked away, so what I'll do again here is I'll just tilt that gun back over at that 45-degree angle for better coverage. Because these edges are so small, if you don't have that 45-degree angle on the gun, you will miss it. So just slant it over slightly and just follow along. Okay, so this is it in real time now. One more thing I want to go over here is you want to make sure that you're almost just dust coating this first coat. You don't want to be overloading the paint. The reason is because this first coat is just like a binder, like a primer. If you put it on too heavy and then you actually put the second coat on sort of 10-15 minutes later, then what's going to happen is it's going to be too soft underneath. So you want to make it look not completely mist, but just sort of, as you can see through the paint, like patchy. I call it dust coating. And as long as you do that, then it'll all dry very uniform. Okay, so as you see, I'm spraying this on top of a spray table here. It's a lot easier to move around as you go in, so you haven't got to walk around the window, and you can keep it in one direction. Another thing as well is when you finish spraying, all I do is have a couple of scaffold boards set out on 2 trestles, and just that's where I'd be storing them. You can buy a gazebo to do this, but to be honest, I don't find it makes that much difference, to be honest. The only thing I would say is don't directly just stick them in the sun. Try and find like a shaded area if you can, to let them just tack off, and then you can move them into the sun to fully cure. But generally you're looking at a couple of hours really before you can pick them up on a good day to put them back in. Okay, so now the first coat's on those windows. What I'm going to do is give it sort of 10-15 minutes between the coats. And again, this is all going to depend on temperature. I like to call this is a thing called gel coating. So it's 2 coats and it's finished. That's how I do it, is in 2. It depends on the colour, to be honest. It depends on the colour. If you're spraying something that's hardly got any base to it, like a white, for instance, it might take him 3, might take him 4. The worst thing you want to do is overload the first coat. So the first coat, you want it to always look a bit patchy. The second coat to be full. So it's important to go on with a dust coat first, and the reason is for that as well is because if you put the first coat on too thick and then you come back at 15-20 minutes later and put a second coat on, then the underneath layer might be still wet, so when you actually pick the window up, you can actually leave thumbprints in it. So you're better off building up layers than you are to just try and hammer it in one. So I know by how that's covered on that first coat that it's going to go in 2. If that wasn't covering very well on the first coat, then I would do another mist coat and then a full coat, depending how many times I need to do that to build it up. But I'm not going to leather my coats on too thick, and then it's not going to dry between the coats properly. We don't sand between the coats, there's no need. It's called gel coating. So what you'll be doing is, as it's just setting off, so as it's tacky, you're going to hit it again. That first coat is going to grab into the second coat, and it's really going to adhere together and give you an absolutely solid finish. As you can see in there, I've done everything 1 pass going across each section,
when I do the second coat, I'm going to be doubling up on my passes. So I'm going to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 around the window. At the moment I was doing 5, one on the front edge, one on the slope section, and then one on the top, and then one on the other slope, and then into my edge, the inside of the window. So I was doing 5 passes. But now I'm going to be doing 10. So I'm just doubling everything up now and making it a lot wetter. You don't want the window to be fully dry when you do this. So what we're going to do now is going to go back in the booth for our second coat.
Okay, so back in the booth now, what I'm going to do is my second coat. I'm always going to check the fan first to make sure that it's spraying fine. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to go past everything twice. So I'm going to be doubling up on my coats. So every pass I'm going to be coming over 2 times. So rather than going over it once, I'm going to go back over the same area twice. And this is going to give me way better coverage on the second coat. You want to go on quite heavy on the second coat, I would say, so that it all gels out and levels out nicely. So just basically the same as before, but you're just doubling up on every single pass. Okay, so another thing I want to go over here is, if you actually watch, I'm really visualizing the window. I'm looking at as I'm spraying. I always say with spraying anything, you really want to be looking at the spray hitting the surface. So you're really trying to keep that edge wet all the way around. It's like driving a car. You're not looking at the steering wheel, you're looking at the road ahead. So by visualizing what you're actually doing with the spray gun, to keep that wet edge all the way around the window. Okay, so that's the window finished, and as you can see, it's nice and wet. There's no patchy bits all over the window. It's consistently wet all the way around, and with that you know it's going to dry fine.